in addition to your acting, you are one of the writers for Funimation. You've done so many series. You've done the Snow White series recently.
Yes.
As well as Spicy Wolf, Kami-san. With a lot of the writing that you do you prefer working on a script on your own? Do you prefer a co-writer? How do you get along with an editor?
Well, funny enough, I end up being the editor when I've worked on it with other people, which is how I would prefer it. Bit of a control freak. I've been doing it so long, though, that it's just technically, you know, I can train people. I've trained several people in the technique and everything. But as far as editing now and all that kind of stuff, we're really, because our scripts right now, and I mean this has changed just within the past few weeks, we don't have lead writers. We have one head writer that kind of organizes everything. He doesn't even have time to write. So now all I have to worry about is my one show, which right now I'm working on First Love Monster. And that's the only show I have to worry about writing. I just have to write it in 2 days. That's the only thing about it, is get it done fast. But for me, it's a lot easier. You know, when you're editing someone else's work, you have to make sure that both, you know, you and whoever else you're editing really has the same voices coming through. And, you know, as writers, we all have our own voice. So it's not necessarily going to sound the same. So there's a lot of rewriting just for consistency. But now I don't have to do that. It's really great. It's just me.
What do you prefer? Do you prefer to direct? Do you prefer to write? Do you prefer, I mean, I guess you love it all since you do it all,
yeah.
To act. Or is there one you're like, you know, now that I've done the acting thing, I moved on, I more prefer directing? Or is it just you love it all?
I love it all. It changes though, because sometimes I'll get a little burnt out on one and then get burnt out on the other, kind of depending. And then for a while, maybe, you know, I'll write some original stuff with a friend of mine and do a movie or, you know.
Tony Oliver had the same answer pretty much. He was like, one day I love directing more, next day I really, really want to act.
Right.
You know, so.
And then one day I'm acting and I'm like, my lower back is killing me. Then I just sit on a stool. It's like, this is how I record on a stool. I sit there and I'm like, ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba, and the microphone, boo-boo-boo-boo. That's what that looks like. Hey! Questions, answers. Yes?
What's your favorite show you've ever worked on?
My favorite show I've ever worked on. Well, I am a Libra, so I'm really bad at favorites. It's just like, ask me where to eat. I don't know. I literally can't choose that. But, you know, I have some favorites. I have several that stick out. They're usually ones I wrote because, you know, if I wrote it and I'm in it, I'm just more connected to it. I've lived with it longer and loved it longer. So, like, Panty and Stocking is one of those. Hitalia is definitely one of those. There are so many more. I really loved working on Baka and Test, and Edo Rocket, if anyone's seen that. Acting-wise, Witchblade, Mikako Satsukitane in Heaven's Lost Property. Oh, Romeo and Juliet, that was really good. I was Ophelia in that. Not a lot of people get to say they were Ophelia in Romeo and Juliet. But yeah, so that's just a handful. Danganronpa, Junko and Danganronpa. It just, you know, right now that's one of my favorites because I'm currently doing it, you know, and Death Parade, oh my god, that's such a good one. It's so good. But yeah, those are right now. I mean, ask me tomorrow, it might be different.
Thank you.
No problem. There's the little hand. The camera's facing me, not you.
I know, but how was it like to portray Panty?
Playing Panty was a blast. I mean, she's a loudmouth, cursing lady, but that's not a lady at all. It's fun. It's really fun. And writing that show too, did I say that one in my list of shows? It's in there. Writing that show was a blast, first of all, because I was told to be as vulgar as possible within the realms of United States law. So I did. And I didn't know I was going to be in it, when I first started writing it, so I just kept thinking, I want to say this line so bad. And I would write lines, because I wrote Stalking for Monica as well, so I would write lines that were for Monica and then text her them. But I'd be like, you better get this. One of my favorite lines that I've ever written, and it was for her, was, you keep talking, but all I hear is syphilis. It's my favorite.
Jamie Martin
Hey.
is the greatest.
Yes, she is. I'll tell her.
Motherfucker.
We're just doing a Q&A. Just chit-chatting. You guys have any questions? Yes.
So, did you know what you were getting into when you were cast in Death Parade, and how was the recording process?
So Death Parade was one of the very first broadcast dubs we did, after Space Dandy, obviously. And we had a little more time with it, but not a lot. So I was just told, with the broadcast dubs, we have to be there every single week because we're releasing a new episode every single week online, streaming it along with the Japanese. So instead of it taking a year and a half to come out, it's 4 weeks or 2 weeks now because they're actively trying to kill me. So that was one of the first ones, and Zach, who was casting it, and he directed the first part of it, and then Chris George took over. Zach came up to me and he was like, you're going to be here for 12 weeks, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, okay, cool, we have this show, there's this girl in it. She's kind of like a barback. We don't really know what her story is. And so I just, every episode that I came in to record was the first time I knew anything about it. And the director didn't even know that much about it. And then after we moved on, he didn't tell me, which is awesome because she finds out why she's there, without any spoilers. She finds out why she's there later in the series. It's an episodic series, but the through line is what's her thing. And so by the end, she finds out what it is. And so when she found out, I found out. So it was a really cool combination of, just being able to go there very quickly, and I still get emotional. It's such a good show. I loved it. It was a good show. Death Parade. I play woman. Dark-haired woman. She has a name, but you don't learn it till later. So we just calls her woman. Yeah. Her main line is, especially from the first season, was put your shirt on, Gray. And after that, it doesn't really matter what you say. All you gotta do is slur it a little bit, and then that just sounds like she's hanging out because she's always a little drunk. Literally carries a barrel full of beer that she drinks.
It's awesome.
I know, it's really cool. I get her. I get it. Yes.
How fun was it playing Shirley in Strike Witches?
Shirley in Strike Witches is awesome. She's a blast. No pun intended. Oh, I can't believe I did that. So that 1940s kind of World War II feel, but except that she's a witch, and so she wears rockets, like jet engines on her legs, so that she can fly and fight this horrible power. So all of the girls, they can't wear pants, so they just run around in their panties and with jackets on, because you have to be ready to put those. We don't have time to take our pants off. So this is a real storyline, people. But it ends up being a really good show, and the characters are all really, really fun. And my character is based on Chuck Yeager, who, if you don't know, was a very famous pilot in World War II. And so, interestingly enough, my grandfather was a pilot in World War II as well, so a lot of my sense of humor comes from him. There are a lot of stories of him, like I have all this silver that he smuggled in the tips of the airplane wings. And one of my favorite stories is he was what we in Oklahoma call honoring. They were flying to Germany now, and the thing to keep in mind too about these guys, a lot of these pilots, where they were told, none of you are coming back. Like maybe 1 out of 5 is going to survive. So they thought they were going to go to die, and so a lot of them either decided that to let it keep them down, or they just decided to make a joke out of it. And you'll find a lot of those pilots end up being very funny people and just ridiculous. So the pilot, it was a plane of pilots. My grandfather got up and looked out the window and then just put on his parachute and sat next to the door. And then a little bit later, the pilot noticed that the plane was leaning to the side, and the co-pilot came out to see what was going on, and all of the guys in the back had lined up next to him because he must know something was about to happen, and it messed up the whole plane. Just that kind of stuff. That was my grandpa, and he was very funny. And so for me, Shirley was really based on my grandfather, who just happened to be a lot like the other pilots in the day. Chuck Yeager was just more famous, but he wasn't as hilarious. He also lost his teeth in a plane crash. And, well, at first they were like, you can't go anywhere because your teeth, he just bit down. Put him back in, bit down. And he was in the hospital, and they were like, no, you gotta stay, we gotta fix your teeth. And he just said, okay, and they left, and he put on his clothes and walked out. They stayed for a few more years. Then they came out and he had to have dentures. But I do remember him taking them out and chasing me when I was a kid, going, ah, ah, ah. It was fun. Just goofy. It was really cool playing her. She's a lot of fun, and she's very silly and jokey. And believe it or not, I'm like that. Go figure. Yeah. Yes.
So how was writing and acting in Terror in Resonance?
Writing and acting in Terror in Resonance was awesome. Terror in Resonance is a much more intense show. Tyson Reinhardt, I believe, wrote that with me. Sure.
Sure.
It's a totally different show. It's very, very character driven still, and I love stuff that's character driven. And you really get to see why these guys are doing what they're doing, and you kind of understand all sides. My character is a villain. Her name's 5. The leads are 9, 12. And she's bad. She's bad to the bone. It was really cool. I mean, the bad guy's fun to play. It just is. And she was really nasty. But I do like her flourish at the end. And it was the first time I've ever had people tell me before it was released that they liked the dub better, because the Japanese, there was some serious English happening in that, because she's supposed to have gone to America and then gone back to Japan, so she's speaking in English, and it was rough. They sent Zach, again, this script, and they were like, read this, we want to know how it's supposed to be said. So, and he had no context, so we just read it, sent it back, and she basically just copied his read and everything, and it just wasn't all, there was a thick accent, to put it mildly, and so people were like, oh, it's gonna be so much better. What? No one ever says that. But thanks, guys. And that was a cool little added bonus, but I love the show. It was good. I mean, that happens when you work on a show. You get into the one and you fall into it, and then if you're getting to act in it and all that stuff, it's another level. It's nice. And then you do the next one. So that one kind of goes on the back burner, and you fall into the next one, and you love it, and you're swimming in it, and then you go on to the next one. Yes.
Any other questions? There we go.
Yeah.
Last night's Panty and Stockton PJ party was awesome.
Oh.
Really fun. would you ever like consider you and Monica doing it again, like say next year or?
Absolutely. Was it fun? I mean, we were having a blast, and it seemed like everybody was having a blast. But sometimes when you're having so much fun, you don't realize other people might think it's stupid. But it seemed like everybody was. Yeah, we were talking to Jose, and he was saying we have to do that again. So I bet. You know, we've done the panels before, but never had like a party like that, and so that was really cool. So I imagine, why wouldn't we? It was a blast. And there was candy. All the candy in the world. You want to know?
So how excited were you when you guys got the rights to Shimonetta and when you got casted?
Well, with Shimonetta, understand that when we get the right, when we get the right things, I'm a writer. I don't necessarily know what the show is. You know, it comes in as Shimonetta. Okay. If I'm not writing it, I don't have time to research what's happening in Japan, right? I just don't. You know, for all the writing, and then, you know, now it's narrowed down to 2 days, but then I have to act and then run errands and do all the things I can't do on those days. So I don't have a lot of time to say, what's coming out in Japan? What do I want the rights to? It's just, there's just no time. And also, wouldn't it suck to do that and then be like, oh, I hope we get the show, and then we don't? Because that happens a lot, you know. Why be disappointed when I can just be happy? And so I didn't know anything about the show, and I heard about it, and I thought, that sounds funny. And then I read the signs, and I thought, that's funny, and auditioned, and it was a blast. I had a great time with it. So once I got it, I was excited, and then I was really excited for everyone to find out, but then they didn't announce it for 7, 8, 9 months. That's what's happening now, broadcast dubs. You know, I'm currently in the Danganronpa ones. Currently recording it. I can talk about it right now. There's a show that I've been in that hadn't been announced in a year. Can't talk about that one. And it's this weird mix-up. That's why sometimes with the recording, it's please don't, because I'm going to say the wrong thing, and then I'm going to get in trouble. And I don't like being in trouble. Spoilers, big time, yeah.
What do you prefer, the broadcast or the ones where you film and then it comes out later? Like, is there a preference you like?
Well, I think for acting, I prefer the broadcast stuff. But as far as writing, I really do prefer to get the whole script ahead of time, because sometimes the answer at the end, you know, can be there. Japan doesn't use a lot of foreshadowing, and we do. And there are just a lot of things are assumed in Japanese. So you can say, you know, when I was like, and you were like, and everybody will know what you're talking about. But here we're like, you were like, what? And when I was like, what? You know, it just doesn't play. So we have to, as the writers, too, fill in those blanks and hopefully fill it with rich characters and you know, implications that are easier to see. They don't use sarcasm anyway either, so you have to add that. So as a writer, it's easier if you know the whole story. But so I prefer as a writer to have the full script. I prefer as an actor broadcast stuff. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
Just want to say, for the record, one of your first candy throws, one of them tried to whiz past my head and my hair caught it.
See?
So,
You're welcome. You are very welcome.
Also, I know the answer to this, but how was recording that scene with Junko at the end of Danganronpa, the animation?
Oh, awesome. Everything with her was a blast. You know, and all those, like, another example of why, you know, she has different kind
Especially
of characters.
With all those switches.
Yeah, it was a blast. And, you know, they're a little more extreme. Her base level is everybody's some people are like, oh, it's Valley. It is not Valley. It is LA Charson Baby, which is totally different.
That's introduction Junko, right? That's the voice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like her, whatever, normal like song. And there's some vocal fry. It's whatever. Not Valley.
Actually, how far have you recorded in the broadcast dub of Danganronpa 3?
I don't know what episode. The episode that's gonna air this week.
I'm trying to figure out. I'm basically watching what's like. I'm up to speed with the Japanese, and I'm gonna watch the English after.
Okay.
So like, I know what.
So you're gonna read the book first.
I still need to read 0, but like.
Okay. Here's my thing.
You're gonna break my heart.
When
in English.
people, when people prefer subs, and that's totally
No.
cool.
I prefer dub. I'm just watching because I'm impatient.
Oh, I get that too. I get it. No, I'm just saying. Sometimes people will say, we all have heard them. They're usually online and afraid of social interaction. The sub only people. I think this is my theory. I'm not saying it's right, but it's totally on point. They read the book first. When you watch it and you're reading it, you are reading the book. So that Japanese voice becomes the voice that you're reading it to. It's not about the Japanese emoting, and it's not that they don't act or aren't great or anything like that, but subtleties in Japanese are totally different than subtleties in English. So people read it, and it's like reading. You read Harry Potter, and then you go see the movie. What's better? The book. The book is always better because that's your imagination creating life there and character there. So I feel like if you read it and you can see the dub and be like, that's great, awesome, because most people can't do that. So kudos to you guys for liking the movie as much as you like the book. Yes.
I agree with you, and the same in reverse. If you watch something in dub first, you tend to prefer the dub over the sub.
Right.
That's what I've always believed too. So you basically legit said everything I believed in.
Well, thanks. We agree. I think too, with the dub, people prefer to see the dub first in the States. And, some people will say that's not true. Everybody wants it's
No.
just based on numbers and reports from streaming. People in the broadcast dubs, people watch the dubs way more.
Like I remember I watched the Fruits Basket dub first, and I loved
That's
the
the
Fruits
first thing
Basket
I was
dub.
ever in.
Yes, I loved it so much, and then I tried to watch the sub, and I couldn't. I was like, Yuki, for example. Yuki sounds so girly in the sub, and then I like how the dub like feminine, but with the masculine tone.
Yes, yeah.
Like I liked it way more in the dub.
Well, and cultural differences are
Yeah.
huge between Japan and the States, especially like vocally. This voice is really embraced as innocent and a little sexy in Japan. Whereas here we're like, please stop talking. Right? With men, it's very effeminate men are the ones. That's why there's so many women that play male roles, right? Effeminate voiced men are all the rage. And I'm like, I'll be friends with you, sure, but I'm not dating a voice like that. We need, as crazy as it is too, I forget what it's called, but it's like the differences in the sexes, if you like the opposite sex. It's greater. The differences are greater here, and those differences are what attract us to the opposite sex. If you're into that, if you're not, it's totally fine. No judgment. Be my friend though. So in Japan, that difference is narrower. So I find that fascinating, thinking of it from an anime perspective. The boys are beautiful. And I would never date a man who was prettier than me. Like, studlier, more handsome, sure. But prettier? No. My ego could not handle that. Well, I wouldn't be attracted to it, Some women are, and that's fine. But just in a general sense, those differences are what attract us to each other. Yes,
What first got you into voice acting?
an audition. It's such a boring story. It's true, though. I was an actor. I have a degree in theater from the University of Oklahoma. And I graduated a long time ago. And Oklahoma is kind of a galaxy far, far away, so it works. And I had done commercial work. I had done a lot of stage work. I did voiceover commercial work. And I was at a party where someone who worked for Funimation was. And they said, oh, you're an actor, you should come audition. And I said, okay. And I auditioned for Fruits Basket and I was cast. It was like 14, 15 years ago. It was a while ago. I think 14. It's, I mean, so before Fruits Basket, I only knew about like Dragon Ball Z, which I thought was stupid. Because all they did is yell at each other, and I didn't know what, like, why are we yelling all the time with the yelling? I don't like any super hard, heavy metal because I didn't do anything to you. Stop yelling at me. Just tell me your story. It stresses me out. And so that was like, and I would always make fun to my little brother. I'd just walk through when he was watching and go, ah, just in the background. It was pretty great. He also watched Yu-Gi-Oh, which I always called Yu-Gi. Oh no! But I mean that was my experience, and it just, I thought this is not something I can get into. But then I saw Fruits Basket and I thought, oh, well, this is different. And then it sucks you in. Oh, it gets you. After like 2 episodes, you're like, well, now I have to watch the whole thing. Yeah, that was the first time I really saw that there were other things. You know, a lot of people in the industry, especially now, grew up with anime. And, you know, I knew of Speed Racer, but that's not anything you wanted to know about, really. You know, the people, there were a lot of people who, Sailor Moon people. I was a Rainbow Bright girl. I didn't know Sailor Moon, but I did know Rainbow Weddings, and it was amazing. So, and I watched Saturday cartoons, and they, you know, Transformers, I guess. The majority what I watch and still watch cartoons. I just love cartoons, and then I could, you know, later see, oh, okay, this is a totally different medium in a totally different way. But anyway, I got over it. I got over the, oh, see, it's stupid. Now I crack up whenever I watch it because I hear people, all the people I know, and I'm like, Eric, you're silly. There's Sabbath again. Hey, I'm Sabbath. That's everybody's impersonation of Sabbath. I'm gonna be really hyper now. What? That's Other questions? Yeah.
Old man's question.
Oh, an old man's question.
Yeah, I'm real new to this only because my daughter's into it. And Miss Rael, which I guess is your close friend,
yes,
revealed how long she's been in the business, like you just did.
Mm-hmm.
And the audience learned that she had voice things that they didn't even know were her voice.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you have a lot of voices under your collar too.
Yes, not as many. No one has as many.
Really?
No. She is the most. She has more characters, voice characters, than any other woman in the world.
Wow. Do you ever do a voice that you no longer use but would like to bring back as a different character? Or?
You know, my foundation is really my voice. Monica's is her voice. Her voice is just quite a bit higher. What I have been able to do is steal her voice. And I did it in Danganronpa. I didn't even know I could. I just had to do a cutesy voice, and Monica's cutesy is the best thing ever. So I was like, okay, Monica, how is she reading? Okay. Yeah, so that's what I did, and then they listened to it, and we were like, oh my god, that sounds like Monica. And then she walked by, I was like, Monica, listen to this. And then she was like, don't take my jobs. And then Mike McFarlane walked by, he was like, that's Monica. I'm like, no, it's me, I did that. So that was kind of cool to find out I could do a totally different voice, because we know she can do the low, you know, she's really good at that. The first time I met her, I was doing a show called Burst Angel, and in that, her character's name was Jo, and she talks really low. And I met her, and she was like, "Hi, I'm Monica." And I was like, "No, you're not. That's not what you sound like." That was kind of a weird experience, but as far as other voices, you know, like sometimes, I think they're just voices that I do around my house that would be fun. I have a voice for my dog, Dot. I have another dog, Leela, but she's really just me because she's so over everything. And this is her voice. Ugh. I'm right here. Like, what are you doing? I can't even right now with you. Just let me up. Just let me up. Just let me up. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where? Because she's flying. Where are you? Where are you? That kind of stuff. But anyway, Dot is a 10-month-old Boston Terrier, and she talks like this, so this is her voice. And I love her. Oh, she's so cute. That's that voice. So that would be kind of fun to do. I've done crazier voices on stage. Actually, I was in a sketch group for a while, and so that had some really fun things. I did Shakespeare, and there's one of the times I did meant to do was Margaret, and her voice was, just do a little, okay, what is it? "You may think perchance to think that you are in love," like, and I haven't done that. It's pretty ridiculous. And then, where's the other? I've done a lot of accents that I don't really do in anime, but I've done them on stage before. So those would be kind of fun to mix in, but those voices were created for those particular characters, so hopefully, you know, I mean, I'm so lucky. It's hard to be like, well, maybe one day I'll be. I'm so grateful for everything I have, so it seems greedy. But it would be cool. I would totally be cool with doing some of those voices. Yes. Don't want to miss my flag. Okay.
Like with most roles, with most voice actors, like every now and again they're gonna, it's a small time when they can alter the voice. Usually they just use the same, like their same voiceover. What was it like going from that to someone like Shoko in Baka and Test?
You know, imitation is the best form of flattery. Flattery, imitation, yeah, that's right. So I wrote that show, and in my head I write shit. I cast it. So, in my head I cast Shoko as Brina Palencia based on her character Yue from Negama. She kind of looks like her. She's kind of that flat delivery, breathy kind of girl thing. Yuchi, there she is, that's her. And so it was kind of, you know, that was in my head. But then I also knew Brina was going to have to be the other two, the twins, right? The boy and the girl.
Yeah,
because, yeah, Hideyoshi and Yuka, something like that. And so I auditioned for it, and I was like, what would Brina do? And so I just copied what I thought Brina would do and got cast. And she said, when she heard it the first time, she's like, what did Jamie do? Her impersonation of me? And we were like, yeah, she did. That's totally what I did. But, you know, it's nice to be able to work with so many talented people that you can learn from, because it works, you know, in both ways all over. The comedy energy, comedic energy I have, people certainly, you know, grow with that, and I grow with them, and we're all kind of, I think we just get better and better the more we work with each other and the more we do. So thank God, because then we keep getting cast. Yeah. I had a feeling you had a question. You were just waiting.
Besides Mikako and Heaven's Lost Property, which one would be your favorite character?
My favorite characters. Well, we just talked about that. That was like the first question, I think, yeah. But it's okay. I have like 100 favorite characters. Right now, Junko from Danganronpa.
Yes.
Panty for Panty and Stocking, the narrator from Hetalia. Ophelia from Romeo and Juliet, Mikako, obviously. And what else did I say, you guys? I can't remember right now. What? Sekirei?
Sekirei number 10, Uzume.
Uzume is the most unexpectedly deep character. Yeah, because it's an ecchi show, so normally they're not always, you know, well-rounded emotionally. And, you know, I've been lucky that I've had a couple of characters that really are great. All right, sorry. I'm looking at when my car's coming to take me to the aeropuerto. So anyway, I was shocked that she ended up having the storyline that she did. It's hard too with favorites because I know you have favorites, and then sometimes if my favorite's not the same as your favorite, I feel guilty because I feel like I'm letting down. So. Your favorite's Mikako, which is one of mine. Mikako Satsukutane. She's like Samantha from Sex and the City if she was a sociopath in high school. And then Uzume, I guess. Okay. I'll allow it. Anyone else? Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. In Rosario Vampire, as Miss Nekonome, if you were to go back to class and you start teaching people, who would you be teaching voice-wise?
Who would I teach voice-wise?
Yes.
Brad Pitt.
Right. But the catch is you still gotta be Miss Nekonome.
Oh. Brad Pitt, meow. He could use a little help in the acting department, and he's really cute. Is that good? Does that satisfy your demands?
Yes, I gotta report that to Skune so we can put it in the newspaper.
All right. That's fair enough. Oh, I forgot to. I'm gonna hear it too. Anyone else? Yes.
So how
And then you, and then I gotta go.
How would Rias and Junko respectively react to an otaku teacher's lesson from Ultimate Otaku Teacher? Because I know you did a character in there.
An ultimate otaku teacher.
An otaku teacher.
Oh
show.
yes, that was more of a leaning towards Valley.
Yeah.
How would Rias
And Junko react to one of his lessons?
to one of his lessons? They wouldn't be in class. Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, half the show is him going out and finding the truant students and teaching them a lesson to be in the class.
Okay, you're right, I guess. Yeah, now I remember a little bit. I feel like Rias would be like, okay, fine, let me do this due diligence, get it taken care of. But then I also feel like Junko would just kill him. But she'd have a great time doing it. So there's that.
It'd just be mind games back and forth.
Absolutely, yeah. Last question.
Oh yes. What has been your favorite role you've had in a broadcast dub?
In a broadcast dub, a woman from Death Ray.
Yes. I guess the second question. What was it like to voice Mimi in Ring Daughters of Nimbus?
Oh, Mimi was really fun. I mean, she had a passion for vodka, which, you know, we always try to find things as an actor that we share. So there was that. But she was a lot of fun. I mean, she also went on quite the journey, you know, and even you can hear that in her voice. She starts off quite a bit higher than where she ends, and much more of a roller coaster tonally, and then she smooths out and is much flatter by the end because of all of the experiences that she's had. But it was really cool. The hardest part was when she had to spout technology, because I was like, do these words mean something when you put them together? Because I don't think they do. But they did. What? Thank you guys so much. I'm sorry I have to cut it a little bit short, but, you know, airport.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out with everybody.